Hi, today is Tuesday, February 21st, 2017, and this is A Sweet Speaks. Did you know that the Canadian Parliament might ban free speech? Miss Ikra Khan, a Liberal Party member of the Canadian Parliament, presented a motion in the House of Commons on December 5th, 2016, of course. The motion was seconded by Mr. Frank Bayliss, also a Liberal Party member of Parliament. The exact text reads, quote, Miss Khalid, parenthesis, Mississauga, Erin Mills, end parenthesis, seconded by Mr. Bayliss, parenthesis, Pierre-Fonce Dollard, end parenthesis, moved that, in the opinion of the House, the government should A. Recognize the need to quell the increasing public climate of hate and fear. B. Condemn Islamophobia and all forms of systematic racism and religious discrimination, and take note of House of Commons petition E411 and the issues raised by it. And C. Request that the Standing Committee on Canadian Heritage undertake a study on how the government could 1. Develop a whole-of-government approach to reducing or eliminating systematic racism and religious discrimination, including Islamophobia, in Canada, while ensuring a community-centered focus with a holistic response through evidence-based policy making. 2. Collect data to contextualize hate crime reports and to conduct needs assessments for impacted communities. And that the committee should present its findings and recommendations to the House no later than 240 calendar days from the adoption of this motion, provided that in its report the committee should make recommendations that the government may use to better reflect the enshrined rights and freedoms in the Constitution Acts, including the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, parenthesis, private members' business, M103, end parenthesis, end quote. That's the motion. What does it mean? The motion wants the Canadian government to quell what the writers of the motion call increasing public climate of hate and fear, and it wants the government to condemn so-called Islamophobia. It wants the Canadian government to reduce or eliminate systematic racism and religious discrimination. These are strong words. But wait a second. Don't you already have anti-discrimination laws in Canada? There is something called the Canadian Human Rights Act, which was passed by Parliament in 1977. Its goal is to ensure equal opportunity to individuals who may be victims of discriminatory practices based on a set of prohibited grounds, such as sex, sexual orientation, race, marital status, creed, age, color, disability, political or religious belief. Conclusion. Such a law exists in the Dominion of Canada. So, what kind of motion is this? It's a motion which wants to ban free speech. We already have such laws in Europe. Geert Wilders in the Netherlands has been sentenced according to such laws. Several true Finn party politicians have been sentenced in Finland in accordance with such laws. Geert Wilders and those Finnish politicians were all sentenced because they spoke out against Islam. Somehow, that's considered racism. As I used to say, when did Islam become a race? Dear liberals, listen carefully. Islam is not a race. It is a teaching. Followers of Islam come in all colors and features. There are blue-eyed Bosnian Muslims. There are black Somali Muslims. There are brown Pakistani Muslims. There are East Asian Indonesian Muslims. There are even red-haired Arab Muslims. Most Arabs are not red-haired, but some are. And so on. Islam is not about ethnicity, it's not about race. Could you get this straight, please? It's about the teaching, an idea. And you should be just as allowed to criticize the teachings of Islam, of the so-called Prophet Muhammad, as you should be to criticize Marxism, liberalism, or Burkean conservatism. It's about redefining the meaning of words. If you wonder why liberals allied with Islamic countries like Saudi Arabia are doing this, I mean distorting language, I think you should read the book called 1984 by George Orwell. Dear liberals, would you please consider this? When everything is racism, according to you, when everything is hate speech, when you could be sentenced for voicing your opinions about the teaching, opinions that you don't like, then people opposing you will start thinking that nothing is racism. Not even real racism. I mean, of course, there are people like me, and I have no problems making the distinction between real racism and what the liberals call racism, Islamophobia and all this stuff. You know, Islamophobia is a word created by Islamists, by the regimes in Saudi Arabia and Iran, and it has proven to be useful for them, because by throwing this word at people who oppose their ideas, people who dislike Islam, by saying you're an Islamophobe, and then they start make people think that you're a racist, because of the idea, especially in the West, that Muslims look a certain way. And of course, in the Netherlands, you have a big Moroccan community, so a lot of people will think that Muslims look like Moroccans. In Norway, you have a large Pakistani community, so people will think that Muslims mean someone who looks like a Pakistani, and so on. But the truth of the matter is, Islam does not have anything to do with the color of someone's skin, with their features in their face, with their ethnic features. It's got everything to do with the teaching. And being opposed to Islam does not mean, and I want this to be perfectly clear, it does not mean that you are against all Muslims. It does not mean that you think that all Muslims are bad people. Of course not. Most of them are good people, just doing what they should, and not making any problems. But there is a minority which isn't good, and that minority is big enough. And it does seem like the good Muslims still don't really want to protest the bad ones, because they have this in-group loyalty. But anyhow, I digress a little, but this still has to do with it. But because of this, liberals and Islamists have made people in the West think that it is somehow racist to be against Islam, or even to be in favor of that all teachings should be criticized, should be discussed and criticized. I mean, you could be pro-Islam in theory. In theory, you could be pro-Islam and still be pro-free speech and think that Islam should be analyzed the same way you analyze Marxism or liberalism or conservatism or whatever. In theory, that is possible, although I don't see much of it. But it's possible in theory. Anyway, could we please make it clear that Islamophobia is a stupid word, there is no such thing, and it's got nothing to do with racism. Because what you're doing here, dear liberals, you are opening Pandora's box. And I think that you should study the history of the left in Iran. I encourage you to do that, and I think that you are perfectly able to do that without me having to tell you all about it right now. And that's what I have to say about this right now. I would like to thank the people who have donated to this channel. My channel is of course free of charge. I started it a little over a month ago. Well, not because I had to. I just had to. There were things I had to say. And there are things all the time that needs to be said. So I will keep on doing this. I know that there are still things I need to work with. I have to work on the light. I have to work on getting a better microphone. On many things. And I'm working on it. It will take some time. I will fix things little by little. But still, if you like this channel, even though I still need to improve it a little, but if you like it, I encourage you to like this video, to share my videos on social media, to subscribe to my channel, because I am making videos more or less all the time. And if you like, I also encourage you to support this channel. If you get $1, if you get $10, if you get $1 million, I'll be happy anyway. And it will help me to improve this channel, which doesn't receive any kind of forced funding. I don't get license money like some TV channels around the world. I don't get any government subsidies. I do this because I had to. And I will of course include all information about how you could support this channel. And you can support it through PayPal and through Patreon, and the information will be in the box below. And this is a Sweet Speaks. Have a nice day.